Alright, settle down. I'm not saying Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines is as good as Terminator 2.
Talk to the hand.
But how could it be? Released July 2nd, 2003, taking in $433.4 million at the box office against a budget of $187.3 million. I'm gonna explain why this movie gets too much hate. First up, let's talk a little bit about the development of this movie. By the end of 1995, Carolco had filed for bankruptcy. Universal Studios and James Cameron would open the Terminator 2 3D Battle Across Time in 1996, which reunited the cast of Terminator 2. I actually got to experience Battle Across Time before it was shut down, and I gotta say, it was great and I miss it. Battle Across Time inspired him to work on Terminator 3, but he was already so deeply invested in Titanic. The film would remain in development hell until April of 2001, and eventually it was filmed from April to September in 2002. Now let's talk about some of the positives. The special effects. Terminator 3 The Rise of the Machines features the return of Industrial Light and Magic and Stan Winston. In 2003, they could have said, "F it, we're doing everything CGI," but they didn't. There are tons of practical effects. Miniatures, prosthetics, makeup, full-blown robots made of each Terminator, as well as CGI, obviously. You can't do the TX without CGI. And while T2 leaves nothing to improve on, the effects of the TX hold up in their own right. Another good example of practical effects is when the Terminator is carving the detonator out of his chest. That's actually a fake chest, and Arnold just has his hands and face shoved up there. Another positive, the score. Marco Beltrami did the score for this one. Known for industrial and electronic-influenced scores, like the ones you hear in Scream. Now, if you compare this score to Terminator and Terminator 2, it's obviously not as good. It's not as iconic, but there's some moments in it that are really awesome. I would show you examples, but YouTube copyright doesn't like that. There's some interesting nods in this movie. The gas station they stop to get gas at is the same as in all three Terminator movies. Sarah Connor at the end of Terminator, pregnant with John Connor, stops at this gas station and gets her picture taken. In Terminator 2, they stay the night there. That's just kind of an interesting fact to me. Depending on who you're talking to, this next one might not be considered a positive, but I consider it a positive. Dr. Silberman's third appearance in the Terminator franchise. He's kind of a fun jackass in the first movie.
Computer thinks it can win by killing the mother of its enemy. Killing him, in effect, before he's even conceived. A sort of retroactive abortion?
In the second movie, he's kind of an antagonist in his own right. Let's talk about some positives in the plot of this movie. There's kind of hints throughout the whole movie that Skynet is starting to take over. Kate's phone doesn't work. The TV going out at AM PM. That's really interesting to me, and it brings me to the next point, which is that this movie actually shows the start of the apocalypse. And to some, that makes it seem like, well, why did we sit through Terminator in Terminator 2 then, if the apocalypse is still gonna happen anyway? But I'm all here for it. I want that robot apocalypse. Another positive. This was the last R-rated Terminator sequel until Dark Fate in 2019. Terminator needs to be R-rated. One of my favorite examples of horror in this movie is when the TX is impersonating Kate's dead husband, and he jabs his hand through the driver of the cop car and just starts steering it from the back seat. That's awesome to me. One of the best things in this entire movie is the vehicle chase sequence. This sequence in particular is oozing Terminator 2 in the best way possible. This is where they captured it the best. Now let's talk about some of the negatives. The pink sunglasses. I'll give it to you. Some of the humor in this movie is a little too cringe. The subtlety of the humor in T2 works really well. It's not inconsistent with the tone of the movie. However, I think some of the comedy in this movie is inconsistent with the tone. Talk to the hand. Okay, I get it. You're sort of referencing the whole Hasta la Vista thing from Terminator 2. That was popular at the time. But really, we don't want to see that. Another negative. Sarah Connor is killed off screen. Not only is Linda Hamilton not in the movie, but Sarah Connor is killed off screen. Oh, you're not going to be in the movie? We'll kill you. Lame. This movie tries and fails to build on what T2 did with heart and the action. Terminator 2 is filled of deep human emotion, philosophy, and existentialism. T3 has none of that. It tries to have that, but it just doesn't pan out. The point of this video wasn't to say Terminator 3 is better than Terminator 2 or better than Terminator 1, but it is the best Terminator sequel. Let's face it. It is closest in tone, and characters, and plot, and relevance to Terminator than any other sequel. And if you disagree, that's fine. Tell me about it in the comments below. I want to hear about it. I'm all for hearing different perspectives, especially about Terminator. If you want to hear my thoughts on some of the other Terminator movies, check out this Terminator ranking video, and be kind, subscribe. Thanks for watching.